Ranking 15th in the state, there is an aura of prestige and elevated education surrounding Westford Academy. When a new student walks through the bell lobby, he or she knows that the mission is success and the goal remains focused on the pursuit of knowledge and the thrill of achievement. But for WA students nowadays, this pressure has gotten out of control. In order to alleviate intense student stress, WA administration is considering joining Challenge Success, a program dedicated towards high academic achievement without compromising the health of the student body.
What challenge success is if you think about the words, right? First word is challenge, right? Second word is success. So it's that opportunity for us to take a look at the stressors that students feel on a daily basis. So when we look at one of the opening videos that we watched at a recent professional development was a student dressed up, in a Stanford shirt. And the first teacher came in was a teacher who taught, let's say, AP Western Civ. And that teacher said, okay, Jenny, here's your homework for assignment for tonight. Don't forget we have a quiz, and don't forget your research project is due in 2 weeks, right? And they grabbed the person's shirt. Next person come in happens to be AP Chemistry. AP Chemistry's got 2 labs due by the end of the week. So it was basically a culmination of all the teachers who came in for the core subjects. And then they talked about, well, Jenny, what do you do after school? Well, Jenny plays violin. Jenny's a member of the swim team. And Jenny also is somebody that goes to the local parish, and also on weekends she does some service at a food pantry. So when you think about all the different things that are being pulled at you folks as students, we're trying to think about ways that we can make some changes here.
Among supporters of Challenge Success is K-12 coordinator and gym teacher Sean O'Leary.
Social media adds some stress multiple ways. For a lot of students, it creates a real dilemma with time management, just simply time management. Homework that used to take an hour is now taking 3 hours because they're stopping, I'll read, and then back to their computer, And so in addition to that, there's the whole social pressure of the hierarchy of social media. If you're not present, right, it's hard to be interacting with your friends, and there's a whole downside of if people are saying negative things about you and the stress that causes. So as much as social media is a fantastic tool for young people to collaborate and communicate, it also provides some very unique issues. I understand parents are putting stress on kids, right? Although the students aren't necessarily reporting that, we believe it's true, right? Meeting expectations of parents. We have extraordinary staff here that is very professional, that has very high standards. And that adds a level of pressure to students and to staff, right? And then students themselves, this is a very competitive place. Kids want to be near the top. That's hard to do here at Westford Academy, right? There are very, very smart, bright kids that are floating right in the middle of their class. And in other districts, they'd be in the top 25%. Here, they're right in the middle. I mean, that's stressful, right? If you're smart and you're doing everything you can, and you're floating right in the middle, that could be stressful. So there's a lot of reasons that I feel that yes, there is some compression and there is some additional stress being facilitated than there was even 5 years ago. Quite honestly, it seems like even 2 years ago. But certainly from 5 to 10 years ago, yes, definitely feels like stress has become more profound. We need to change what success equals, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people in this learning community, success equals Ivy League, right? And that's not fair. You could be the best student at your school, be involved in all curricular activities, be someone with a legacy at one of these schools and still not get in, right? So is that a realistic expectation? It seems like it's stretching the limits of what is possible. So I think that redefining success for each individual is going to go a long way for what that is. But everyone has to work hard to be successful. As far as homework goes, a lot of the students don't believe the homework is meaningful, and that's problematic. So on the staff side, we can either be adjust, how we communicate, why our homework is more effective, or more meaningful, or maybe people are assigning stuff that isn't that meaningful, right? And maybe we can reevaluate that. And so there's a lot of moving parts, and it's extraordinarily complicated. I feel like I'm giving very simple answers to something that's extraordinarily complicated.
Why do you think people might be skeptical of the problem that is student stress?
Well, I think that there's probably a lot of reasons. I think people have a default to think back and compare to their experience. So I was in high school 100 years ago, right? Not literally, but a long time ago. And there were times where it was very stressful, right? So I think back and I go, yeah, high school is stressful, but it's not that bad. We all did it, we all survived. I think that's something that people do without really sort of looking at what has changed. And I think that a lot has changed through the years to make the stress, the impact of the stress and how students react to it a lot different than when I was in high school, or when some of my colleagues, or even when some of the school committee or decision makers, when their experience, right? So often it's a knee-jerk reaction, a default to your experience. And I just think the experiences as teachers versus current students are vastly different.
What seem to be the major changes that are going to be made once Challenge Success starts?
So I can't really speak to that because we don't know yet. We
Oh.
literally were like, all right, here are some findings. We have an urge to be like, oh, kids need to sleep later, we'll move the day. We have an urge to say, too much homework's bad, less homework. We have an urge to do all these things, but we want to be diligent, we want to be thorough, and before we just go making a ton of changes, we want to sort of explore it, make sure that there aren't unintended consequences that we're going to take a step backwards, right? But I think some areas that will be addressed is, I don't know how, I have no idea how yet, but I would be surprised that there aren't some adjustments made around homework, right? I would be surprised if there weren't some adjustments, some sort of accommodations around the goal of trying.
Guidance counselor Wendy Pakacek also supports Challenge Success, as she says she's noticed students coming in more stressed with less sleep than usual.
Down because they are not sleeping for a few days in a row of really. So I know that that's a big problem, and it didn't really surprise me. I guess what surprised me was that was a statistically significant result compared to other schools that are like our school. So it wasn't every school that they survey kids in, it was schools that have the same demographics as us, and we have less sleep than those schools, and that's worrisome to me. But it doesn't surprise me that our kids don't sleep enough. I already knew that. No, I thought nothing really surprised me. I was just thankful to have some data to back up things that I was already concerned about. So now we can say it isn't just my gut feeling that this is happening. We actually have the data to show, from another organization with a very good reputation that
Right.
These are issues. But we also looked at some things around the override process, and that was really good for me to see the numbers behind that, because I've always felt strongly that multiple overrides was not good for students, and that definitely played out in the data. So I'm just happy to have the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just looking forward to seeing what unfolds over. It's a 2-year program, so it's a long process, and I'm excited to see. It can't be bad, right? Whatever happens, it's got to be at least as good as the way things are now, and hopefully better. So I'm excited about it.
Again, it's going to be a difficult conversation, and we're going to try and lean on the folks from Stanford to help us through those conversations. But again, folks, parents in the community, very, very smart, like our students, and strong-willed. and they have a mindset of they want their son or daughter at this school and that school, and it's going to be a hard sell. But I don't think we're asking for a lot. I think we're just asking for parents in the community to take a look at the big picture. And do they want a happy, healthy child, or do they want a stressed out, child, and put them in an institution, a college or university that maybe isn't a good fit, but it's the image. My son or daughter has to go to Harvard, even though there's nothing at Harvard that child wants to do, right? But it really is about community conversations and parent and student conversations. And I want to see, students and parents have these tough conversations about what your passion is. I mean, I want my sons and daughters to follow their passion, and I'd like the same for for other community members. But it's again, I don't want to be trying to be the principal that's the ultimate father in the community. That's not who I am. I mean, I have my own family. All I can do is bring some things to the table to have a conversation. So hopefully people will listen. But it's a mindset change, and people have to be open to that conversation. It's not going to be an easy one. We're looking just really to partner up with somebody that can provide us an impetus for conversation and an opportunity for us to really work as a community. One of the things I think you folks might have heard is that Acton-Boxborough is really struggling right now. I don't know if you know that, but they've had 3 students that are graduates of Acton-Boxborough commit suicide, and they've had 2 this year. And that frightens me, because I know that we have similar academic stress and similar high energy students, high achieving students. I don't want to be that principal.